Yeah,
Nathan Haverly is a lot cooler than you.
I think we got to talk about her in a little bit. And this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, right? Seems early. And that's sort of the unofficial start of summer for folks. It's going to be a weird summer, but let's not drop the ball. Let's do what we can. And if summer begins this weekend, we could talk about just summer and faith. How does faith fit into summer? That's what we should talk about today. So, how about while we have Father Swami here? I've been thinking about associate pastors. Father Swami's been a great associate pastor.
Thank you.
He does whatever I ask, and boom, he does it. And he's super kind. People really remark on that. So friendly. He's got a great depth to what he shares with you all. Somebody was saying they had a word for each of the priests that they've been watching us, and they said Father Phil is the voice. He's got that rich voice. They said Father Swami is the brain. He's got this really deep, intelligent thoughts. And they said, I am the mouth. And I thought, what? I'm the mouth? But they said, no, that's a good thing. So, okay. I am the mouth. But he's the brains of the operation here. Father Swami's been with us for a year. He will be staying. So I'm glad for you all to have that stability. And he does a great job visiting the sick and being available for that. So welcome,
Thank you.
Father Swami. Yeah. So anything to if you have questions for Father Swami, shoot them out because this is your chance. He's obviously he's not from Topeka, Kansas. Maybe describe, if you could, I don't know if
Obviously.
everybody remembers,
It's kinda
like
racist.
where you're from and how did you get here?
Yeah. I come from India, south part of India, and I belong to a religious community called Missionaries of Saint Francis de Sales. I was born in that particular missionary parish and brought up in their school. I think I remember from my third grade, I was doing the mass service, moving with the priest to different churches, assisting them, serving them during the mass, cleaning the church, and I was so much interested to be with the priest, to work in the church, and I think after right after my 10th grade, my parish priest, then Father Francis Xavier, convinced my parents, don't send him to the college or the university, he will be spoiled, so send with me, you'll make him a good man, a good person in future. And my parents were convinced, sent me with that priest, and he joined me in the seminary in 1995, right after my 10th grade. It was really good. In time I had sports, manual labor, in time food, and sometimes study. It was really good. So I stayed for 2 years, and I think at the end of the second year, I realized I came to study to become a priest. I was wavering, and my dad was telling, no, I got him after 14 years of my marriage, and I should marry him. I should have him at home. But my mother was back of me, encouraging me, praying for me. And my dad also was convinced after 4 or 5 years and began encouraging, you have taken a step that you should never take back. And the parents began encouraging me, always supporting me, because we are 98 of us in 1995 in my class.
98?
98 of 98 seminarians
Oh
in
my
the same
goodness.
class. That's the biggest harvest. We have too many vocations.
Wow.
Yeah. And year by year, there was a great fall of the number of the seminarians, and my parents were after me, you don't step back. So there was so much after me, and I could stay. Finally, 3 of us became out of 98, 3 priests. Now one is working at Australia. The other one just left in February from Canada to India after 7 years working there. And I just came in 2018, August, to Kansas. It's all. I escaped about 4 times. I used to give excuse. I used to overwork. I like to work. I used to overwork, and my religious community superiors always felt, yes, he's good in the school, in the parish. So, though they used to ask me, you should go for foreign mission. Looking at my work, they said, we'll keep you for 1 more year. So 4 times I escaped, and 5th time I could not say no, or they could not. They said, okay, just go for 1 or 2 years and come back.
Whoa.
But they made an agreement for 10 years or something, and I can't say no. I can't say no. I have to come away here, as Father said, vow of obedience.
Wow. So
Yes.
how long do you know how long you will be here? The Archdiocese?
With the Archdiocese, I think 10 years.
10 years.
If everything goes well.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. And
Yeah,
so it's
10
already
years.
been here 2 years.
Yeah, this is my 2nd year, and if I still like to continue, I think my society will encourage me.
Even more than 10
Even
years?
more.
Whoa, I hope so.
And yeah, if I want to join, I can join in my own province here in US.
Okay.
Yeah, already in 14 states, we have our MSFS religious community working, 70 priests. I can also join with this province to continue my work here in the
Oh,
States.
wow. So things to figure out for the future. But
Yeah.
for the moment, I
Uh-huh.
think he's happy here.
I'm very happy. And it's, Greg should tell me, he only praises always, takes only the positive side. He doesn't much bother the negatives, the weaknesses. That's what I learned from him. In fact, right after my ordination, I was just there 2 months as an associate. They pushed me to the school, and I didn't have any opportunity to work with a priest. And it's a great opportunity to work. Such a wonderful man, Father Greg here, and I lose him a lot. It's a great missing. I really miss him. He says only 5 more weeks.
5 more weeks.
Yeah.
What amazes me is as you're a missionary, and we think of missionaries, we think, oh, we'll send people to Africa or something. But guess what? The mission field is here, and the missionaries coming to you. I mean, process that. We're the ones being served by missionaries, and one, we need more vocations, so we gotta pray. Because we should be sending missionaries all over the world. We should be sending missionaries to Mars.
Yes.
Wherever there's people. I don't know if there's people on Mars, but if there are, we should send missionaries. Or even if there's Martians, we should evangelize them. And there goes the show.
I think it's time for Baby Yoda.
It's time for Baby Yoda. Well, is Baby Yoda a Christian? I don't think so.
Baby Yoda.
He needs to hear about Jesus, and we should send missionaries to Baby Yodas. Yeah, missionaries are serving us. We're so grateful for Father Swami.
Thank you.
And we got to pray for more vocations. That's why we do have ordinations this weekend. Pray for the 2 new priests who be ordained. You can watch it on the Archdiocese live stream. So Travis Meekum and Anthony Mersman will be ordained priests.
Mhm.
How cool is that? Did we get any questions for the good Father Swami?
One person wants to know when the last time you were home.
Oh.
What's the last time?
That's a
Yeah,
good
it was really a sad moment of my life. March, yeah, 31st March 2019. I had a phone call from home telling Dad is seriously sick. Start right away. Then I called Father Brian. The second time I can't pronounce properly, so I don't like to.
Sheber.
Father Brian Shiver.
I don't like to say his name either because he's on the personnel board that recommends when guys should move. So I think he was involved in moving me. So I don't like to speak his name either. I just say he who shall not be named, Father Brian Voldemort or whatever his name is. Okay, sorry. He was talking about a very serious thing. I apologize.
Yeah.
About his dad.
He is contacted and he is asked immediately to book a ticket for the flight that I can get the right moment. I got it for the following day morning. I went back home, and I could stay with the dad at home for 5 days. And on the 6th day morning, he breathed his last. Was such a lovely man. It's the greatest loss I think in my life. I'm very, 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 introvert. Never I used to talk much with people around. I used to share anything and everything with my dad. And it's a great loss for me.
Yeah, so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I came away after maybe 25, 26 days.
Yes?
No, after his death, 25 days. And I wanted to be with my mom this year. Planned for May 4th. But this, I don't know, God's will. It's
Yeah.
nothing in our hands.
Yeah.
I had to cancel.
He's not supposed to be here right now.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be on vacation back in India, but pandemic.
Yes,
So you've delayed it till maybe
Hit me.
October.
hit me very badly.
Yeah, that's hard.
And I tell you, it's a great joy. All that, my ticket, expenses, all my savings could serve many families, my own relatives back in India during this pandemic. Yeah, it's a great joy.
Okay. So yeah, Father Swami shouldn't be here. He should be back in India on
Yes.
vacation. But maybe October, I think. Or was it September?
Planning for September, if everything is normal.
You can have the whole next year vacation. As far as I'm concerned, I won't
I
be
don't know
here.
whether Father Nathan.
Father Nathan won't be happy. I
Uh-huh.
hope he's not watching this show because I'm ruining his future parish right now. Corrupting it all.
Uh-huh.
Okay, other questions for the good, amazing
The only other one is if
Father Swami?
I just put 2 together. Yeah. Mommy.
each other for
Yeah, it's a great thing. Great, big question. We both of us come from the small town, maybe of 100 families, a small village. We grew up there, and it's a Catholic village, surrounded by all Hindu villages, loved by all the villagers. I don't know, when I joined the seminary, he was a small kid, I didn't see him much, but I have a great opportunity to be with him for 1 year. He's such a lovely man. I didn't know Sudeep so much, but he's a great human being. And I'm new to the States, to the Kansas, and being with him, I think I learned a lot.
Well, yeah, Sudeep's been here more. You've been here now
Yeah,
2
this is
years, but
second
he's been
year.
here a little bit more than that,
Yeah.
being in seminary,
Mhm.
and so he's picked up a lot of
Yes,
little tips and probably passed them on
yeah,
to you. But yeah, that's been really good having
Yes,
the
it is.
two of you
So
here
he's my
together.
cousin. He's
You're
my cousin
related.
brother. Yeah.
But it's kind of not first. It's a little bit
Not
distant,
first,
distant
not first.
cousins. So you didn't really know each other that. You lived in this, maybe the same village, but
We are
different
neighbors.
ages. Different
Yeah,
ages.
different ages.
So they really didn't know each other
Yeah.
that well at all.
In the, he was so small kid and I could not relate to him.
Yeah.
I knew him, yes, because his grandfather was my teacher for my kindergarten. Then his own aunt was my,
Yep. Very cool. So that's been good. Yeah, one of the interesting things this past year has been the flavors and smells of the kitchen.
ha!
They cook Indian food, which they use a lot of spices.
Thanks for bearing with us.
My rule is we do have an ability to close off the kitchen. And I say turn on the ventilation because it puts out a lot of aroma. The other day, which is a couple days ago, I almost died in the kitchen. Thanks to Deep. Whatever he was cooking, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
But whatever he's cooking was so spicy. I mean, I thought I was gonna. I mean, it's like mustard gas. Even Sudeep was like having a shirt over his face.
He was cooking beef and fish.
Beef and fish, but
Yes.
whatever the spices were, they
Yes.
were poignant or whatever, pungent.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to eat my share of Indian food. I really like it.
Thank you.
They do a great job cooking. They auction off each year an Indian dinner at our Five Hearts Gala, and it's quite a treat. So
Our Chamberlain says it's delicious.
it's delicious.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you should bid it up this coming year because it's you. I don't know if you'll have as much help. You'll have to cook it on your own.
I can.
You can. Okay.
Yeah.
You can do it.
So
So,
we have a question about India. Which state or province from India are you from?
I'm from Andhra Pradesh,
Andhra Pradesh.
in south part of India. Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, he didn't.
And
Yeah.
this Diana says she's visited.
He doesn't understand.
Yeah, Chennai is my neighboring state.
Okay.
It's a state by name is Tamil Nadu. Chennai is located in Tamil Nadu state.
And somebody asked if
I
you
gotta
could
get
speak
some
your native tongue together.
Very much, because we knew only that.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up speaking only that.
Yeah.
I think I'm
And
gonna
I'm speaking English only after coming to
not take more
Kansas
than
much.
like an hour and a half.
Otherwise, I didn't have
So
much
let's do that
need.
after rehearsal.
What's the
I wanna-
And
wanna
I learned
first
very
pick up
little English,
callers.
that in British accent.
Would you run an errand for me?
Yeah.
your native tongue is Telugu?
Telugu.
Several calls.
And I know because when I turn on my
Yeah,
like,
obviously.
Amazon,
Oh.
all the movies
Yeah.
recommended are Telugu movies
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yes.
Because I have my Amazon account when I
That's
linked
true.
to the
That's
TV.
true.
Just want to get
So
a box of
Telugu
there you
movies.
go.
So I can say right
Amazon thinks I like Telugu.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, the thing there is two different purchases though.
Yeah. No, I'll just tell them you can do the
Favorite dish and what are some hobbies?
Okay.
And then I like 8.
My food is very simple.
Some more.
I grew up eating rice
That'd be awesome.
and
I've been
lentil
meaning to make a trip
curries.
or someone. I just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Candles.
And meat, all that only once a week.
Ooh, I might even have you pick up some
We
candles.
used to have most on
Yeah,
Sundays.
because you were talking
But
about.
after joining the
Yeah.
Sunday, they used to
Thank
feed
you.
us 3 or 4
Thank
days a week.
This is just one of those random tasks I've been
Yeah.
pick
Then my hobbies, I like to read the books.
That's my life now. Is
I like to
doing
listen
tasks.
to the
Yeah,
music.
not bad.
Yeah.
Getting to take care of.
I like to
what needs
spend
taken
all
care of.
alone in
It's pretty
silence.
nice having you around. I really enjoyed it.
Which means he's the best roommate
Oh,
ever.
I like to spend all alone in
I mean,
silence.
you're gonna be.
I'll miss
Yeah,
hanging out
he's a
with you,
great roommate.
but I'm gonna enjoy.
Not every associate pastor has been so great.
In your new place, you're gonna have how many people?
3 minutes till we start.
Oh yeah, so Prince of Peace is a lot like here. They don't have a brand new rectory. Their house is just a suburban house. So whatever Spurman did, it's not designed specifically for priests, but I think they've kind of fixed it up.
Let's turn
I think
this
it's good.
bad boy off for you guys.
I'll see. But there are 3 priests residing in
And-
Prince of Peace Rectory, just like here.
Hello, everyone. We're almost
Very
getting
similar. The
started.
pastor living there. They have
I
a
can't turn
full-time
this off.
associate
Here we go.
pastor, Father Ken.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
There we go. That way you guys don't have to deal with that sound anymore. Good morning, good morning. Hope you've been enjoying the pre-show, which is, you know when you have an artist who's doing a concert and he has lesser artists doing the, you know,
Oh, the opening.
forwards, the opening act, the
Yeah.
entr'acte, one might say. Entr'acte is our good friend Father Greg Hummus doing his show Being with God, with the quality of which is about as high as his name. So,
Thomas? Says,
Being with God.
oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
No,
thanks
Father-
for opening. Thanks for opening for us, Being with God.
Father Greg Hummus is a really good priest. He's a good friend of mine. I've gotten to know him over the last 4 years, as I've mentioned on a couple occasions. And he is going to be the new pastor at Prince of Peace, and Prince of Peace is going to be in fantastic hands. So,
No joke. Yeah,
Father Greg is like top 10 priest for our archdiocese.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know.
I
I don't know how to rank priests yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you know in a couple years.
Right, it's a good point. So, we're just hanging out now. I need to take the pre-show. I don't know.
You could sit here if you want.
No,
I
this
don't
is
know.
my spot.
Should I mean,
It's mine.
I could try to figure out how to work stuff.
No, it's okay. It's kind of confusing. So, we don't have the music this morning just yet, but I can sing it because I know it.
What happened to our show? What happened to Being with God?
Oh, it's 10 o'clock.
It's 9:59. What are you doing?
We're taking over.
It's 10 o'clock.
It is not 10 o'clock.
Yeah, look at the clock. It's 10 o'clock. Just keep looking.
You goober.
Goober. Can you? That's amazing.
Did you get? Did you get tired of Father Greg over there? Is that what you're saying?
No.
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 Oh my. We're continuing the pre-show. Pre-show.
Priest show.
Priest.
Priest. Pre-show. Priest show. How's the coffee? It's not
good.
super
It's better though.
strong.
It's better though.
I can't drink like tar.
This coffee, I think it needs to be. It can't be done through the. What is it called? Through a drip machine. That's what you need to do it through like Chemex or something.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, this is still better than normal grounds through a drip machine.
But this was a gift
full-
of Terry Rhodes for us, I believe.
Terry Rhodes?
Yeah, Terry Rhodes gave us some M&Ms,
Rhodes.
which we have worked through. Rhodes.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that plastic container?
Yeah, and the Visconti.
They've been enjoying those.
Mhm.
They're both dipping spoons, and I do it sometimes too. Biscotti, man, those are some good gifts. Coffee, Biscotti, M&Ms, man. Terry Roasts,
Rhodes.
Terry Roats. You know how to give good gifts.
Mm-hmm. Terry Rhodes also helped us with the
Hey, it's 10 o'clock.
confessional.
Told you.
Can't get the music started.
Really? Why not?
I don't know.
That's weird.
I can, yeah. Father Ashmore can keep
Alright, we can do the Ponderous
some
song.
classical. I can make up some stuff.
Pum, 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 pa-dum, pum, 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 pum.
I just started listening to Chopin. Chopin?
Chopin.
Chopin?
Mhm.
Chopin?
Chopin.
Chopin. How do normal people say it though?
Chopin.
His name is French. Chopin. Chopin.
No, normal people say Chopin.
Chopin. I've been listening to
I was listening to him recently. Seminarian Will Sutherland got me into him because I was just basically Haydn for a while that I was listening to.
Where were you hiding?
What?
Where were you hiding?
I was listening to Haydn, Haydn. I don't.
There we go.
What is going on?
I do not know. He's thrashing this on whatever this is. Alright, hello everybody. Sorry I had to make a quick phone call before we got started. Take care of some business. Very good. How are y'all doing? Good to see y'all, and hopefully you enjoyed the
morning.
Being with God pre-show with our good friend Father Greg. I think that was the best show they've ever done.
It was, because Father Greg took us a backseat, one might say, and allowed Father Swami to take.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was
Yeah,
talented.
they should really have him.
Holy. The dialogue was edifying. I'm going to be praying about it for hours.
Very good. So Being with God, Father Greg Hamas, our friend from Most Pure Heart, who will soon be our friend from Prince of Peace, because he has made his announcement last week that he is moving. The 11 article comes out today, and the new announcements are happening. So
He's going to move into one very clean rectory.
Why?
Father Vols.
is he very clean?
He is. The main floor of that rectory, so I lived in the basement, which I'm also a pretty neat person. But whenever I was upstairs, I didn't think I could sit in any couch or anywhere, because it was like this really, it was like a show home, where everything was perfectly placed and there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere. And I felt like if I sat down, I would ruin the
That's
whole
not this house.
space. So I stayed downstairs for the most part, because even though it was still clean, it wasn't like.
Did
Yeah.
Jack live at that point? Is Jack dead? Jack the cat?
Jack the Cat was, I don't know if he was dead or just not, like, rehomed, but he was not there.
I
Cat
think
was
he
not
probably
there.
died. So Jack the cat was Father Jerry Voles' cat that I interacted with the first or second time that I talked to us, something like that, and it was a terrible, terrible cat. But Jack loved Father Jerry, and Father Jerry loved Jack, and Father Jerry would allow Jack to come on top of his head and lick his head.
Yeah,
was
I did remember that.
That
from
was like their
Cronus 2
bonding
years
experience. And at one point, Jack the cat tried to lick my head, and Father Jerry got jealous of Father.
ago. You just, I don't know.
I just saw myself. Oh my.
Got jealous.
Deacon Mersman, did you ever have a desire for a Red Ryder BB gun? Joanne.
Oh my goodness. Let's settle this here and now. Which one of us is more like?
I don't know. Yes, that's
Ralphie?
a good. That is a good question.
So at my parish assignment in St. Louis, I'm not even kidding. There were 3 weekends in a row. The first 3 weekends I was there, where different parishioners like, you look like that kid from Christmas Story, and the associate pastor there looked exactly like the grandpa from Up, exactly like him, big old glasses and everything. Incarnate Word.
Who's the social pastor?
Okay,
Father-
look right at the camera for a moment here, please. That one.
Father Jim Sullivan. He's an older
I
guy.
don't know.
So we got a picture of the both of us because I'm Ralphie, but I
think you win the
I
Ralphie
hold,
competition.
I hold that
yes.
Father Ashmore is more Ralphie than I am. I mean, my glasses do a lot. Without glasses, what do you think? Come on.
I don't know. It's kind of like when
Also,
it
whoever
got
made that
shot in the
comment,
beat.
I'm sorry for my strong reaction. This is just this is
That's
this
Joanne.
is an established thing. Joanne, I apologize if that was strong.
But
Uh,
Who do you think, Father Ashmore or?
I think
Deacon
part of the issue
Mersman?
is that I'm no longer 12. We're no longer like 11 or so. So we have to find what does Ralphie look like today? That's a big question.
That's how we'll settle it. That's amazing.
Yeah, if you find
I mean,
that,
I'll take
then
it.
airdrop
I'll
over
take
that to me, and I'll put it in the
Maybe I'm
show.
just so opposed to it because Father Ashmore has had that coined, has had the look like Ralphie thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So people are trying to give it to me, and I'm thinking, no, sorry, it's Father Ashmore.
All right, well let me go over to what's happening here.
Peter Billingsley.
Let me go over to the O-Camera and say hi to my nieces. Hello there, Rachel. Hello, Rosalie. Hello, Laura. I hope that you are having a great day and that you're having lots of fun, whatever you are doing today. And also hello to the Dryling girls. I hope that you are having a spectacular day. Today's coffee of the day, as we were talking about, it's the City of Fountains blend from what's that from? The Roastery. So that is what we are drinking today. Got my big Starbucks mug here to drink the coffee. I was gonna bring my Star Wars cup that Father Merceman brought over for me, but I forgot. So anyway, I'm drinking out of this one. So we'll go back to the main camera. We seem to have lost a co-host, though, unfortunately.
He's getting some coffee. Don't
I
worry.
see.
Got it. A big body like that needs a lot of fuel.
Ruthless you are today.
What can I say? Oh my!
Did you find Ralphie?
I found many Ralphies. So I'm trying to figure out what angle should I put. He's got several angles at which is. Ooh, this one's probably pretty good. So I'm gonna drop this over.
Okay, and then I'll put it into the program here, and then we can.
I don't look that much like Ralphie now. It's a shame. But his name is Peter Billingsley, and he probably hates being called Ralphie.
Peter Billingsley. That sounds like a similar ethnicity to where Ashmore is from. I'm German.
Billingsley.
Billingsley.
Quat.
I'm Billingsley. Peter Billingsley.
Peter.
Is it William? Whose name is it?
Peter
His first name?
Billingsley. Peter Billingsley.
Peter Billingsley at your service.
Okay, so we found that. So on a different note, my father was emailing me because he's a
Yeah, that does not look like him at
devotee.
all.
Yep, he's a devotee of our fireside chat. My father is.
Not
And
Peter
he was
Billingsley.
telling me that my great grandparents, one of them, and I'm sorry to lose their names, so I'm going to have to look at them. One of them spoke Irish, so Celtic, and one of them spoke French, and they married each other. And they did not speak the same language. Remember when we were talking about how we thought it was interesting? I come from a family of where the husband and wife did not speak the same language. Is that interesting?
Who did?
My grandparents, my great-great-grandparents.
Oh,
So
okay.
let me find
we
the
talked about
information
that
from my father.
the other day.
Yeah, exactly. Let me find the information from my father.
Another news. I don't think either one of us look like current Ralphie.
No.
Okay, so it was Maggie Quigley and Louis Paquette. This was 2 generations before my father, I believe. And Maggie Quigley was from Ireland, so that's my little Irish part right there. And Louis Paquette was from French Canada, I believe. And they met. Neither one of them spoke the same language.
Wow.
Yeah, Maggie Quigley spoke Irish or Celtic, and Louis Paquette spoke French. They, over time, developed, they got married, and over time, Maggie Quigley learned English and French, and I think Louis Paquette learned a little bit of English, but I think their main language together was still French.
Very
Isn't
good.
that fascinating?
That is fascinating.
So, I come from the very same situation that we were talking about. We didn't know how it works. We got a family picture here, too.
And this is how it works? Question mark.
Exactly.
There was I think it was a shortstop for the Royals, Paquette. What was his first name? Billy? Not Billy. Paquette. Anyway, Royals fans, who is that there? There was a Paquette that played for the Royals back in the 70s, but I forget his...
Really?
Yeah. Paquette.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Yep, there was
Okay.
a
Is the
Paquette.
O'Cameron still? Oh, no, it changed.
It just needs to update.
Yeah, the YouTube doesn't. It takes forever. My sister says you definitely win the Ralphie competition. So the final word has come in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
Was there a vote? Were there like 10 people who responded or anything? Or is your
No.
sister just the authority?
she's texting me. And she is the authority, so I have another
Fine,
access point
I'll
here.
take it.
Yeah, what are you doing here with your time? It's a rainy day. Father Ashmore was working out in the garden yesterday,
I was.
and he was going to work out in the garden today, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Not today.
Yeah.
Probably not in the morning. We'll see how much it rains. So.
And Deacon Merceman is I've learned, a phenomenal painter. I don't think we've talked about that on the show, but
He prefers Impressionism, though he does also. Why are you
I do
laughing?
still lifes too.
Yeah.
But remember how I was having so much trouble with my ceiling down there in the basement? Well, this guy can do it. I cannot. So I've been doing this, some of the prep work, the sanding mostly. He's been doing all the joint compounding and painting, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to say it's worth it, but it does look great. So
Yes, and we have like an hour and a half of work left to do. I'm gonna knock that out late afternoon, and it'll be donesies.
awesome.
Ceiling will be done.
What are you doing early afternoon there, Deacon Merceman?
Oh, nothing too huge. Just a rehearsal for my priesthood ordination.
When is that possibly happening?
My rehearsal is at 2 p.m.
Uh-huh.
Ordination is tomorrow. Is exactly 24 hours and 17 minutes away.
If he were counting. So this is our last episode with Deacon Merceman. Now, I guess it's possible that Father Merceman might make an appearance here in the next month. Who knows?
Possible.
It's possible. But this
I won't
thing,
permit it.
this thing is certain. This is our last episode with Deacon Merceman.
That is indubitably true.
because yes, if he were to reappear, he would be Father Merceman. But we would welcome you back on the show if you, as time allows. But again, my basic principle is get away, don't do anything, and be off the
Get
clock.
out of here.
And enjoy that time, that extended time, that basically a month where you're kind of free of obligations. It's nice to kind of transition. Now, your transition, of course, was a little bit weird because you were staying at Savior for the last couple months.
Yes.
But it is a nice chance to take a break from all the finals and studies and just kind of breathe for a moment before you jump into parish ministry. So
Yeah.
and you'll be busy because you got not one but 2 assignments.
Not one, but two.
Yes.
Correct.
So you'll be at Holy Cross. He'll be at Holy Cross, our neighbor there, and he'll be at
Bishop Ward.
yeah.
I'm stoked for both.
And who's going to be your pastor at Holy Cross? I'm not sure if we talked about that.
Padre Oswaldo Sandoval.
Father Oswaldo will be the pastor at Holy Cross. So I know that he was very well loved when he was here at Good Shepherd, and he really did a lot of work bringing on the Hispanic ministry and giving us some good principles and some good foundation to get us started there. So I'm excited for the work that he'll do over there at Holy Cross.
They're getting a
Excited for our
double
area.
dose of new priests. Although they do know Father Oswaldo from before.
Oh,
He
that's
lived,
right,
He
he
lived there
was.
and helped out sacramentally
Oh,
in the
yeah, I
past.
almost
So
forgot
they
about
already
that.
know
I
him
know
there.
him pretty well.
But to be the pastor is obviously something altogether
Very
different.
different relationship.
And
certainly.
he will be incredible at it, and I will support him 100% as his associate. It's going to be incredible. It'll be awesome.
that was something that Father Jerry Volz was mentioning in his announcement when he came. I think he said they came to Prince of Peace in 1995. I think that's what his announcement said, was as an associate, and then he came as pastor 6 years ago. And he says, he just said it's just very different being a pastor, and sometimes it's more challenging to come back as a pastor or in a place that you were an associate.
Yeah, and I bet. I mean, because pastor, there's a lot of additional responsibility. With the associate, it seems more of there's still priest faithful relationship, but it can be a little bit more personal because there's not that as much of responsibility and authority on the associate. So maybe to have that relationship and then to come back as pastor and be like, no, it's a different relationship now.
Right.
And then starting from scratch, if you were never the associate there, I could see that.
Establishing relationships from the very beginning.
I can see that for sure.
Because the associate, I mean, you don't have really the final word on much of anything, right? So
And you get to pass the
pass the
blame
buck, right?
the whole time. Sorry, talk to the pastor.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then they can be mad at me, but
Sorry, I'm not someone to say sorry. Talk to Father Kent.
That's right. That's right. I don't know. And if they don't like it, then they can come back to you and complain. It's like, that pastor, he's making all these terrible decisions. It's like, well, he's the pastor.
I hear you.
I hear you. So yes, it can be a challenge going from associate place to being the pastor. So, but I think that'll be a great place there for Holy Cross. Saying that was my first rectory living experience was at Holy Cross, so I have a special fondness for Holy Cross there. Good place. So, yeah. So what other questions? This is our last chance to ask your questions. You've probably never had the opportunity to ask questions to someone who is right on the eve of their
That's true.
ordination. So if you got any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're watching the tube in the book, so let us know.
The tube and the book.
The tube,
The tube in the book.
Tube and the book.
Harold? Craig Paquette?
Craig Paquette? Sounds like it. I don't know.
Did he have a nickname? Because Craig Paquette doesn't sound right at all.
How about Craig? If he was in
but-
St. Louis, it could have been Craig Paquette.
But maybe that's right. Louis? Lou? Is there a Lou Paquette?
Lou Paquette? I mean,
No.
Louis Paquette is my great-great-grandfather.
Oh, maybe that's what I was talking
Great-grandfather.
about. But Craig Paquette, huh? That's interesting. A third baseman. Okay, so he was pre...
Was it Hot Paquette?
Would you like a hot paquette? We've got the fresh hot paquette.
Oh my,
I don't know what accent that was. Freddie Patek! Freddie Patek, not Paquette. Freddie Patek, that's what it was. Thank you. I got my Q's and my K's confused. Freddie Patek. Very good. But interesting that Craig Paquette also played for the Royals. But, all right. So, Freddie Patek. That's the one I was trying to think of. And I think he was a shortstop. So, it doesn't have anything to do with Paquette. Okay, so what are you looking forward to most in your priesthood there, asks Javine.
The answer is actually everything. Everything.
Good.
I mean, for the longest time, it was always the sacraments. Looking forward to celebrating the Mass, to consecrating the Eucharist, and baptizing.
By the way, I stumbled in on Deacon Mersman the other day. He was in the chapel. I saw him, and he was
The house
practicing.
chapel,
Yeah,
yeah.
right here in the church. I'm like, oh, sorry. So he was doing a little
Nothing-
practice run.
Nothing happened.
That's,
Even though I said the words.
that's right.
And I was in jeans and a Kenrick long sleeve tee, so
That's right.
I wasn't trying very hard. But yeah, everything. So for the longest time, it was thought about the sacraments first and foremost. How excited I am to hear confessions, to celebrate the Mass, to baptize, and all of that stuff. Even visiting hospitals and even prisons. I've been able to do some prison ministry, and every type of specialized ministry I've been exposed to, I really loved it. Like prison ministry and ministry with the elderly and with the youth, with poor, with the poor. All of it has affected me in a very positive way, and I've been very drawn to all of it. And even the not as clear celebrating sacraments or assisting with sacraments moments, like just building relationships with people at the parish, like marriage prep and hanging out, showing up to meetings. I'm excited for even that, for being a part of the parish community and the local community, just being known as the local priest, and even going to the grocery store and seeing people and them knowing I'm the local priest. I'm excited for even that.
Yeah.
I once saw one of our parishioners who was buying pudding. Mm-hmm. We had a conversation by pudding.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Height of pastoral ministry right there, a pudding conversation.
Yes, right. You just never
That's
know.
building-
Putting
that's how you
putting the
build relationships.
priesthood wherever they. I'm so sorry. Oh my.
That was horrible.
Oh my.
Putting the priesthood where it belongs.
Yes,
or
exactly.
something. I don't know. Out there with the folks. Yep. So yes, all kinds of exciting things that you're going to be entering into, and yes, being that, but you're probably somewhat used to that, being a public persona. It's part of being a seminarian. As
Yeah,
well,
I've grown
and
into
deacon, but,
it for sure. It's not a natural strength of mine being like a public figure. On the introvert side, but no, it's now I can definitely get energy from being with people. You know, if I can't do it all day long. Like how Brother Greg Hamas mentioned the other day on Being with God. He's like, yeah, I can do that for a while, but I can't do that the whole time. So yeah, I have gotten a lot better at like getting a lot out of being with a lot of people. Yeah, that's definitely been something to acquire, something that every priest needs. I mean, we're all different levels of introvert and extrovert, but a priest necessarily is a very public figure.
Right.
Yeah.
When the Archbishop installs someone as pastor, he kind of has a standard homily. So I think I've heard it twice, maybe even 3 times in all my installations as pastor, about the various roles, the expectations that people have on their priests, fair or not. But I think that sometimes it comes as a little bit of a surprise to people, perhaps, that some priests might be kind of introverted, and it might be kind of a struggle to be with people because they see the priest so often in a public sphere that they just kind of expect that they're going to be at the parties and they're going to be at that thing and they're going to be at all these things because that's what the priest does. But that's not necessarily the strength of the priest, and it might not be entirely life-giving. It's important that they do those things, but they need to find other ways to kind of rejuvenate and stuff.
It's actually interesting because often the people who are best suited for the more external vocations like we have, more I guess one might say more oriented towards the life of service rather than the life of prayer in a certain way. Often those people are the ones who are introverted because they need to be brought out of themselves.
Yep.
And often people, the vocations such as monastic vocations are full of a lot of extroverts because they need to be brought into themselves.
I see.
It's an interesting. So people think that, I'm more introverted, therefore I need to become a monk.
Or you're really quiet, you should be a monk. Yeah.
Right. Not necessarily. Sometimes you need to be brought out of yourself.
Right.
And your vocation is the means by which God does that.
That's
and other
good.
times you need to be brought into yourself. You need that structure in order to dive into it. Now you're going to find exceptions on each side of that. I know there are some major introverts and major extroverts in the monastery that I went to school at Conception, but often that tends to be a bit of a convention or a
I'd say
trend.
the majority of my friends and people I know in the seminary would be on the introvert side. Like, there's only a few people that stand out as clear extroverts.
And everybody knows who they are.
Thinking back to people like Henrik, Shout out to Travis Crotty, Deacon Travis Crotty.
Oh, such an
He's
extrovert.
the extrovert.
He's enough extrovert for the 3 of us.
He's Sioux City Diocese, not Sioux Falls. He's Sioux City, Iowa, and we make fun of him because this might sound terrible, but every time we get to a new class last year, he'd be like, Deacon Travis Crotty from Sioux City, Iowa, small rural diocese, no way to close half our parishes, and like that's how he introduced himself so many times. And so whenever we wanted to imitate him, we're like, yeah, Deacon Travis Crotty, small rural diocese, closed half our parishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all 3 of us are introverts, right?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I actually hate being here right now. The question is, you don't know whether I'm joking
He's
or not.
he's like, he's 45% joking? I don't know.
Well, again, like actors tend to be, a lot of actors, you expect them to be really extroverted, but lots of actors are very introverted, and their kind of means of expression is, and it's good for them because they can be in like a controlled environment in front of people. So you sometimes talk to an actor and they're all really outgoing and stuff and really dynamic or whatever on stage, and then you talk to them backstage and they're all like really sheepish, mouseish, and sheepy.
Goaty.
But yeah, so interesting thing there. But yeah, the expectations of the priest and of the pastor is we are expected to be all things for all people, and part of I think the journey of priesthood is kind of figuring out yes, I can do that, and no, I can't do that. Or I've tried that and I'm not really good at that, and so I need to do this or whatever. So
That's a very simple way of explaining it, all things to all people. So even an introverted priest needs to be able to be with different sizes of groups of people for different amounts of time, and an extroverted priest needs to be comfortable alone and
right.
in solitude.
Right. But some people have those natural talents, like some people might work well with the youth or whatever. But that doesn't say that, well, I'm not going to deal with the elderly or whatever, or the vice versa. I'm really good with the old people, but I'm terrible with children. Well, you need to find some way to make it work with the children, or you need to find some way to make it work with the elderly.
I exclusively work with the very elderly.
I prefer them to be unconscious by the time that I start talking to them.
Right. That's the other thing I think interesting about diocesan priesthood is that I sometimes call us like general practitioners, like if we were to compare that to the doctors, is that we need to be kind of good at many things, but not a specialist in any one thing, right? So unlike the Jesuits perhaps, or the Benedictines or the Dominicans or whatever, that might have like a special charism, as diocesan priests we kind of need to be general practitioners. We need to be have our hands in kind of a little bit of everything, because that's what we're going to be doing in parish life.
Yeah, I think that line, all things, all people, is a beautiful meditation, especially on what the priest does. However, it can also be a temptation, too, for priests.
Yes.
Because it can make people, it can make certain priests feel like they have to be involved in everything.
Sure.
And that isn't healthy.
No.
It's not healthy to try to have your hand in everything.
Yeah, an inability to say no.
Inability to say no.
Yeah.
I was listening to a talk of Bishop Barron the other day on the priesthood as part of RCA, and he said the best priests are those who can empower others in the parish to do the ministry or do the work in the parish, so that they're able to bring the people together and bring them all on that mission. When a priest tries to take it all to himself and tries to do everything, then he ends up not doing any of it very well. So
Right.
there's a whole dynamic here that has to be played out correctly.
Right. So I tried to apply that. I don't think I've ever been described as a micromanager. I like to be present to a lot of things, but sometimes I just say no, and I'm not going to do that, and I trust these other people to do these things. So like, why? Sometimes people I might ask, why is Father never at that thing? Or why do you never come to these meetings? I'm like, I think you got it under control, and I'm not really needed here, so you're doing great. So I'll just let you keep going. And sometimes I get in the way. Like there was a men's Bible study, for instance, at Our Lady of Unity on Friday mornings before the Mass, and I think I stopped by to wave to them once or twice, but I mostly avoided that group completely. Not because I don't like Bible studies, but sometimes, especially if it's a group discussion of the Bible study, sometimes the worst thing that can happen is the priest shows up, because then it's like, well, what do you think, Father? I'm like, well, now I've killed all the conversation. So I intentionally avoided that because I wanted them to have that discussion without me. It might be less the case at Good Shepherd, but I think it was the case at Our Lady of Unity. Is people said, well, what do you think, Father? And I'm like, I want to know what you think. Well, no, we want to. So anyway, some of those things are best to say. Y'all got it. So.
There's a really good question from
Javine?
There's
Carly.
yeah, there's see Javine and Carly. Did any of you other consider a route different than that of the diocesan priest? And then Javine has the question: what concerns do you have embarking on this journey into the priesthood, Deacon Mersman? So those are two different questions.
Well, I'll share one. I'll just share one because it's very applicable, and I think everyone about to be a priest and that is a priest should be aware of it. Which is the only thing it's not a strong concern. It's something I want to be mindful of. Is using all the tools I've been given to stay healthy and to stay grounded, to stay in touch with brother priests. Brother priests in the archdiocese, and also good friends that will be priests in other dioceses. Exercise, eat well, know how to delegate and not take on too much. So all these tools were given for me, given through Kenrick Lennon Seminary and my parents and jobs I've had, to not have a very demanding life of a priesthood be something that harms me or harms other people. That's a very basic concern. So I'm not like, oh man, I'm gonna be overwhelmed. It's more like I really want to make sure I'm doing everything I need to be a very healthy and effective priest. Yeah,
That's good.
that's the one thought.
Yeah. The other thing that I think both of us really cherish as well that you didn't mention, but is also having a few families,
Yes.
like lay families and stuff that are, and generally it's best to not have those be parishioners, because then you can kind of be accused of like playing favorites or whatever. But
Right.
having some families, I've got my good friends, the Books, that are Sacred Heart parishioners. I've known Mike since 4th grade. I go over to their house often. They get together with family or whatever. Those things are very valuable to me as well. I mean, obviously, I want to have good relationships with all the families here as well. But it's good to have kind of to really nourish those long time family friendships that you've had for a while as well. So
That's a good point too.
yeah,
For sure.
they keep me grounded sometimes, and I get to so those are good. That's important.
Love
And
it.
you have where are they? Where are your
I have a good family of friends in Mount City.
Mount City? Yeah. So those are really important. And again, to enjoy the families that are here at Good Shepherd and at your parish, but we always have to walk that fine line of being close, but not so close that it feels like favoritism or whatever
Right.
too.
Mhm.
So, but
Um,
Carly, did any of you ever consider a route different than that of a diocesan priest? I presume that the question here is like diocesan as opposed to religious order priest. If I'm misreading the question, just let me know. For me, it was pretty much always diocesan priest. I went in the summer of 2000. I stayed with a religious community in Peru. And that was a good confirmation that was not my calling. So I've always felt called to being a diocesan priest and not Benedictine or Dominican or Jesuit. I've never felt that's my calling.
I want to be a monk. I'd love to be a monk if I could be, but our Lord isn't calling me to that.
I see.
I've many times thought about being a Benedictine monk, or even perhaps more of an austere life than that. In many ways, I would feel I feel like I'd be very happy in that lifestyle. But our Lord has always called me to be preaching, particularly working with people. I know that I am more perfect when I'm serving others personally. That's how when I'm serving others in that particular role. And so I know that this is the way that our Lord has chosen to sanctify me and sanctify the world. And so I feel very content being a diocesan priest, but some days I want to be a monk.
I think a lot of parents say that too, particularly moms. I don't know.
They want to be monks.
Well, yeah, they say I just want to go on. I love this. They go on a retreat in a monastery or a convent. Like, oh, I wish I could just stay here, but no, not my calling. Whatever. I've heard that several times.
Yeah.
I wish I could just run off and become a sister or something like that, because there's something attractive to that, but that's not
Right.
your call.
Well, I think in a certain way it should be attractive to all of us, because it's truly the most perfect life. That's what the church says. It's the most perfect life because it most perfectly anticipates that which we'll have in heaven.
Done properly.
Done properly.
It can
Right.
be.
So
Yeah.
there's a certain element that it should be attractive to all of us. At
Sure.
least that idea of
Yeah.
devoting ourselves entirely to a life of prayer, and anticipating the eternal life to come, which is what.
Right.
So there, in a certain way, it should be attractive to all of us. The question is always like, is it attractive to you because you think that's the way our Lord is wanting to perfect you, or is it attractive to you because there's something there that you are attached to, or that's keeping you really from the growth that our Lord is calling you to?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was for a long time since I entered seminary. I experienced a deep pull, attraction towards religious life, and I even investigated some with the CFRs in New York and Norbertines in California.
CFR.
Franciscan Friars of the Renewal. They wear gray. They've got houses all over the world now. But they were the first ones I reached out to, and then it was more Norbertines, like Theology 1 year. But what I thought was a call towards religious life is very clearly turned out to be a call to integrate the beauty of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and the habit even that was also an attractive element of religious life. into the diocesan priesthood, that the diocesan priesthood itself has the space to have priests live in a way where they take their promise to live simply very seriously, and they are very focused on obedience to the bishop, and even treating religious garb as a habit of sorts, the Catholic or clerics. And there's that's been made very clear that it's not a pull, for me personally, it's not a pull to religious life proper, but a pull to a specific kind of diocesan priesthood.
When I was in high school, I considered some religious orders, but they never felt truly. I never felt like that was where God was tugging my heart in a certain way. I had a couple times where I considered joining a religious order when I was in seminary. One in particular, I had a really beautiful experience at a Carthusian monastery when I was in Spain at one point, and that really tugged my heart. But eventually, I was convinced that the Lord is wanted me to learn from those experiences and grow from those experiences, but ultimately wanted me to bring that to the people of God. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Carthusians, those are that's big time.
Oh yeah. I stayed a night in a Carthusian monastery at one point.
Okay.
It was a very beautiful experience and willed by God. So.
Is that? Are they the one that's the movie, the documentary?
Yeah.
Into Great Silence. Is that the name of it?
Into Great Silence. Yes. So that was the Carthusian monastery in France at the Le Grand Chartreuse, and that's where they make the green chartreuse with
Alcohol.
Okay.
Yep. So that's where they make that. But it's a very austere life. It is essentially the closest you can get to hermetism, being a hermit.
Right.
So
that was a great documentary too. Into Great Silence. It is one of these. If you're looking for an action-packed movie, don't watch Into Great Silence. It is one of the slowest moving movies I have ever seen. But you have to kind of enter into Great Silence. The first part of that movie, I think, is just a guy praying for like 15 minutes, and you just like see him adjust his eyebrow, and it's about as action-packed as it gets there.
Adjusting an eyebrow.
So turning the page, but it can be a great meditation. We watched that one time for my priest prayer day in my car time. We didn't watch the whole thing, but it was kind of like we called it a moving meditation or something like that. So because we used to have we would read scripture or something, meditate upon that. We said for that time we just watched 20 minutes of the movie or something. But
it's a very interesting life. So the experience is actually very personal to me, so I don't really like talking about it.
Well, then don't.
But,
so
what's that? Go ahead.
Carry on.
No. But it's hard for me to put into words that which I experience. But the monastic life that they have is incredibly austere. They essentially live in little houses that are all connected by a couple corridors, and the monks there, not the lay brothers, but the monks, they are in those little houses 23 hours a day, something like that. They've got a little garden that they work at, and then they pray and they read and they study and everything in their little house, and then they get 1 or 2 hours of recreation a week where they come together. A week, yeah. And they come together and they go on a walk or have a dinner together. And on a feast day, they might have more time for recreation, but they are in a certain way anticipating the resurrection. That's how they see their whole spirituality. Their line is, their motto is, the cross stands still as the world turns. And so they are basically the stillness around which the world turns throughout their whole life. And one thing that really struck me was that the chant that they used was not beautiful. They were not beautiful chanters. They were not like the Benedictines. The Benedictines are gorgeous chanters generally. You go down to a monastery, especially somewhere like Clear Creek Abbey in Oklahoma, where the chant's really gorgeous. Their founder, St. Bruno, did not want them to spend their time practicing music. And so they had a very simple chant, and the guys who chanted were like,
Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel. He will come to his people and set them free.
It was really rough, and it was almost off-putting at first. But then as I prayed about it throughout the 3 hours of Mass that I went to, which was at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, it seemed like they were crying out for the resurrection. It seemed like it was just these men crying for the resurrection. And it's a very beautiful, beautiful life. It's a very tough life, obviously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they
That's
pray for
awesome.
the church. That's their role.
And we need them to pray for
We
the
need-
church.
We do.
That's when that can be hard to say like, oh, this calling is higher than that. Like the church has said that for, I don't know, historically they've said this is the highest calling, but the way I understand that is like in terms of, Father Ashmore mentioned points most accurately to what heaven is supposed to be, but I would call it the highest calling, in that they spend the most time in prayer for the sake of people in other vocations. So in terms for me, when I think of the highest calling, it's they're dedicating their entire lives to praying for everyone else, praying for the remission of sins.
Mm-hmm. And I think people have to have an understanding of what it means to be highest. So a lot of people will get upset about that, and it'll actually be envy coming out of them. So you have to be careful to watch yourself. Like, are you becoming envious when you hear somebody say that and you feel that movement in you? But the highest doesn't mean necessarily best for you. Highest means when you go and you chart them all, how much they are in relationship to the mission, God's mission overall. So how much, in a certain way, are you imitating, or to what extent is it a participation of the life to come? So when it's highest, it's the highest because it has the greatest effect upon the world, and it imitates best the life that's to come.
Okay.
And so the diocesan priest is less perfect than religious life because it has a great effect on the world. It does, but it's less perfect than the life that's to come because it is more active rather than more contemplative. Then you have the different levels of it. It's highest in accordance to order, not highest in accordance to best.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's a different way of thinking about issues. It's not, a lot of people want to put things in contradiction to each other. We in our egalitarian society don't like saying that one thing is higher than another. But we have to make sure, as I was speaking before, egalitarianism is not human. It's not how God creates. God doesn't create egalitarian. God creates everyone to be, to have their own proper dignity, but He does create order. And that's how, when vocations, if someone says, like, I want to go to the highest vocation, I want to, of course, that's a good thing. But then if we try to put them in competition to each other, then we're not getting order, we're getting disorder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's that famous story, you've probably heard it, with the interviewing the people that work at NASA, and they interviewed the custodian, and he said, "What do you do here?" I said, "I'm putting a man on the moon."
Mm-hmm.
Which is I think it's a great response, that when people buy in, they understand the mission, they understand their role, and it's not like he didn't see as I'm at the bottom or whatever. He said, I am an important part of the mission of NASA, and so all of us have an important part in our mission. But no one would say that the custodian is the CEO or whatever it is of NASA or whatever. I mean, there is that order that happens, but everyone has their proper role to play, and without him, men do not get on the moon. That was his.
The spaceship is not perfectly clean, then it can blow up.
Right. So being part of the mission,
off.
but knowing the order there too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I would think the higher the order, the more dangerous the mission. That's also true in a certain way. If a monk is unfaithful, that has a much larger effect on the church than if somebody lower on that.
Well,
unfaithful.
sure, because we have seen that, haven't we, with
Precisely.
monks and priests? I mean, that's why that's been so hard for us. The terrible scandal is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it terrible when abuse happens in any occasion? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all the more scandalous when it happens from someone, from a priest or a bishop or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
lives are still ruined. Don't get me wrong, but it's more
The effect that it has
broader.
is broader. Mm-hmm. Because think about how many people now don't trust the church.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that doesn't happen as frequently with abuse in other situations. You know,
Right.
We don't suddenly distrust all attorneys or distrust all. You know,
Some people don't.
let's say bad example. All bankers or something like that.
Right.
Because something happened with one of them, but somebody might do that with the church.
Right.
It's because there's a higher vocation that they have. They have not necessarily ruined, but they've really damaged.
Which I would argue too is, I mean, some people in the whole pandemic feel they have no reason to trust the bishops because they botched the last time that they, you know, their entire voice is void because they don't know how to handle this thing, and so that great scandal that has happened has things when they're trying to make completely different decisions, but they've lost complete authority to speak on anything. That would be, I think, some people would say.
Right.
Lauren mentioned, what was that scripture about tying the millstone around your neck? Yes. So we will not have sadly our retreat has been canceled in June. So yes, we're not going to have that. So good news is we'll have daily mass. Bad news is we won't be able to get together. So we won't be going anywhere. So I always look forward to the retreat in June and the workshop in September, but the retreat at least is canceled. So it's always a wonderful chance. We have basically 4 opportunities to get together throughout the year with most of the priests. The retreat in June, the workshop in September, the Chrism Mass in Holy Week, and the ordinations, the priesthood ordination particularly.
3 of those have been knocked out.
3 of those have been knocked out. So
Dang.
yeah. So we didn't have the Chrism Mass. We are not invited to the priesthood ordination, and the retreat has been canceled. So hoping for September, but the getting together with the other priests, it's a really important piece of the priesthood, I think, and just who we are. So we're united in a mission, and even if it's just kind of casual things. I mean, the talks are sometimes good, sometimes less good, but the main reason to go, for at least for most of us, is the fraternity that we just don't get to experience. And many priests live by themselves, and they don't have much contact with any other priests at all. So, I mean, I'm fortunate to have Father Ashmore here. But some people don't have that, and so it's especially those living out in the country or whatever, they don't get to see many people at other places.
Right. And we've mentioned the word presbyterate before,
Uh-huh.
and presbyterate comes from the Greek word presbyteros, which means priest, essentially. It means elder, and became the term to use for priests in Greek. And presbyterate refers to all the priests together, that we function as one body in a certain way. So that our spending time with each other really helps our mission as priests, because it helps to keep that unity as one presbyterate, one body.
Yeah, there's at the workshop at Conception in September. There's a little group that has morning coffee, and it's just so nice to have. There's like these 5 or 7 people I can count on. We kind of come in and out, and it's just nice. Back in the day, someone used to pick up a paper, and there was a paper going around. People could read the Star or whatever it is, but people don't read papers as much. But just having that time with each other, it's really nice. But well, I think we're about out of time. So thank you for your presence here, Deacon Mersman. Deacon Mersman will never be back on this show ever again.
It's just true.
Oh, that's true. Sorry. I was like, wow, that's harsh. But
Father Mersman is invited anytime. So we have enjoyed having you here. And you're staying here tonight, is that right?
Yep.
And then not tomorrow night?
Yeah, the plan is to
party all night long.
Party all night
because it's his bachelor
long.
party tonight.
No,
Right?
barf.
I'm just joking.
Not even
I'm
close.
just joking.
Nope.
He shows up to the bishop. Okay, well, all right. Let's keep going.
I'm
here.
just teasing. He's gonna be so mad at me later. It's gonna...
Carry on.
Anyways.
No, so you're staying here tonight. So the plan is, yes, carry on.
Yeah, plan is to take all that I brought here, which I didn't even unload all of it from my car, but to take all that back to Eudora. So I'm going to stay there for just over a week, celebrate all the regularly scheduled Holy Family Masses in Eudora. One, because it gives people a whole week to get to a Mass that I'm celebrating instead of just trying to pack into a socially distanced church on one day.
So
I'm doing
weird.
8 days. And it gives the pastor, Father Mike Scully, 8 days of not having that additional responsibility. So it's a win-win.
Yep.
Plus, all the people that get to come, it's a win-win, win-win, win-win,
Win-win.
win-win, win-win.
Very good. Yep, and so reminder, we will not be back on the chat until Wednesday. So we're taking 2 days off from the chat. It's our first. How many episodes, I wonder, have we had? I wonder how many weeks. We've
A
got to
lot.
be over 50
Many.
episodes. Because it's 5 a week for 10. It's got to be 10 weeks or so.
I have no idea anymore.
Yeah,
we'll have to
must be.
calculate all that.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being with us, Deacon Mersman, and maybe you can stop by sometime, Father Mersman, as time allows.
No doubt.
So, all right. So have a great weekend.
God bless you all.
Bye.
Your weekend's gonna rock.
It's going to be amazing.